Hi friends, you're listening to Things You Can Do, a podcast where each week I'll be sharing a different recipe for you to try if you're looking to improve your mental health and well-being. My name's Emily, I'll be hosting the podcast, and today's episode is all about writing a happiness list and how it can encourage you to search for all of the moments in your life that bring you some form of joy. Hi, welcome back to Things You Can Do, the podcast. We are on episode 3 now. For anyone who listened to the first 2 episodes and decided to come back, thank you very much. I appreciate your support so much. And for anyone who's just joining now and this is your first time listening, then welcome. I hope that you find the stuff that I'm talking about useful and that it can make life that much better for you. So today I am talking about writing a happiness list, and it is a great follow-on recipe from keeping a grateful diary, which is what I spoke about in episode 2. So if you didn't listen to that episode or you haven't checked it out yet and it sounds interesting, then definitely go and have a listen. But after you finished listening to this episode, yeah, so make a happiness list is all about dedicating a space, whether that is in your journal or on a piece of paper on your wall, or maybe it's on your notes app in your phone. It's all about dedicating a space to keeping a list of everything and anything that you can think of that brings you some form of happiness. So you could add things like gestures, people, places, food, experiences, feelings and sensations, memories, traditions, activities, literally anything that you can think of that has brought you some sort of joy, you add it to the list. And so this exercise really just allows you to give acknowledgement to all of the good things that you've got going on in life. And it also allows you to explore things that have happened in the past. You never know, you might read. You never know, you might rediscover things that you used to enjoy doing that somewhere along the lines got lost. Maybe responsibilities got in the way or pressing matters had to be taken care of, and before you know it, you kind of forgot about something that you were really enjoying doing. So yeah, it can really help you remember things that you used to do that you loved. So there's a quote that I found earlier, which I think is quite relevant to what we're talking about today. And it's by a man called Henry Ward Beecher. And he said, "The art of being happy lies in the power of extracting happiness from common things." And that is exactly what making a happiness list is all about. It's about just finding all the moments day to day that bring you some form of joy. So that could be taking your shoes off at the end of the day after being on your feet all day. It could be dunking biscuits in a cup of tea while you sat in bed. It could be feeling the breeze across the back of your legs when you're sunbathing. Crunchy, crisp sandwiches. I don't know why that one just came into my head. Yeah, it could literally be anything. And you just add it to your list. And I think it's just a really great way to be able to see in one space all the different ways that you can experience that good life feeling. When you kind of like have a moment where you're like, oh, life is good right now. And it might only be for a moment. It might be for like a whole holiday. It might be when you're listening to a song, but that feeling of like, life is good right now. Like, it's a really great way of like collecting that into one space so that you can see it whenever you want. And so it's not only good for like being able to reflect on, but it's a great tool to use for the days where you're feeling a bit down in the dumps. It's nice to have a list of all the things that you know can make you feel good, so you can go to it for ideas. Because I imagine that you have had these days too, but I definitely have had those days where I'm feeling a bit meh and I don't know what to do. And I've looked at my list and saw that I wrote on there that I really enjoy pancakes. And I'm like, you know what? Pancakes would make me feel so much better right now. And I make pancakes, and it's just like, it's just a moment of good that I feel, even on a rubbish day. And even if you don't choose to do something from your list on those days, I think it can just be quite comforting to know that you are capable of feeling joy and happiness, even if it's not something that you feel consistently, or even if you're in a moment where everything's feeling really dark. Um, there's always an opportunity to feel some form of happiness, even if it just comes in the form of taking your shoes off at the end of the day. Like, even like once you become aware that that is a small moment of joy, you get to experience it more often because you become more conscious of it. So, yeah, I keep my happiness list in the front of my journal, and every time I start a new journal, I transfer the list, so I rewrite it, which means that I get to relive everything that's on my list for a moment. Every time I read it and write it, I get reminded of a good thing that I've experienced, and um, it's just a really wonderful thing to do. I don't look at my list all the time. It would probably be more useful if it was on my wall. I've been thinking about that recently, because it's kind of hidden away in the front pages of my journal, which I don't tend to go to very often. Um, but I think just the exercise of writing the list to begin with was amazing. It highlighted so many different ways that I can feel joy, um, which I thought was pretty incredible to become aware of. And every time I rewrite my list, I always try and add some things to it. So it really gets me to think about how I've developed in the year since I last looked at my happiness list, and reflect on how much life has changed from when I started it. And it's just a really great way of cultivating a feeling of gratitude for your life, and feeling abundance as well, like an abundance of joy, even if, you know, materialistically we're not abundant. We can be abundant in moments. So I'm gonna I'm gonna leave it at that. I think I don't think I really need to say much more than what I've already said. And I will share the recipe with you now. Write a happiness list. Dedicate a piece of paper or a page in your journal to keep your happiness list. Take some time to list everything you can think of off the top of your head that makes you happy. Now, try and think back over memories or things you used to do and add those too. Each time you discover something new that brings you happiness, add it to your list. Each time you add to your list, take a moment to read over it and appreciate all the different things that bring you some form of happiness. If you're feeling low, go back to your list and see if there is anything on there that you could do now. Things that you could add to your list could be gestures, places, people, activities, sensations, feelings, family traditions, food, or memories. There we go. That was the Write a Happiness List recipe. If you are interested in just keeping up to date with all the stuff that I'm sharing or the content I'm creating, then head over to Instagram. My account is thingsyou_can_do. And I'm just sharing anything and everything that I want to make. So it's very dependent on how I feel at the moment. I am really enjoying just exploring different ways that I could share the information that I want to share. I recently tried a live video, which was so nerve-wracking, but I'm really glad that I did it. I pushed myself out of my comfort zone. So if you want to like keep up with my adventures over on Instagram, then yeah, you can find me at thingsyou_can_do. I will be back with another episode next week, and that episode is going to be sharing a recipe called Release and Respond, which is a really great way to let everything out, take a step back, and then respond to yourself. And it's kind of working on like self-soothing, and also creating um, a more compassionate inner dialogue for yourself, and just looking at how you respond to yourself in different situations, and how maybe we can um, or you can improve that inner dialogue so that you can be more loving and kind and compassionate to yourself. So if you're interested in that, then yeah, stay tuned here for the podcast. But if you want to see other sort of stuff that I'm sharing in relation to the recipes, then head over to Instagram. I am enjoying being in that space right now. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I will speak to you next week. Bye.